All right, people. So, welcome to our current affairs lecture series. It's called Daily Current Affairs. Now, this lecture series was going on, but we had discontinued this lecture series on YouTube. We had taken this lecture series on our app or on our website. But now we have decided to bring this lecture series back to YouTube. So, what happens in this lecture series? Well, very simple. We cover every day's current affairs. Okay, every day's important current affairs handpicked from various newspapers are discussed in this one lecture. So this lecture is your one-stop solution for covering current affairs for civil services examination, right? Now, as far as the lecture is concerned, well, this lecture is available on YouTube. But as far as the notes for this lecture is concerned, because that is also important, just after watching this lecture, you need to revise it from the notes. The notes shall be available on our Telegram channel, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Okay. Now, we have decided to continue with this lecture series on YouTube, but here's the thing, and here's the distinction. Well, all of you who are appearing for UPSC Prelims examination this year in 2026, well, don't watch this lecture series because for you guys, we have another lecture series in our Phoenix batch. Okay, some of you already know about Phoenix batch. So we are over there, we are covering 1 year's current affairs because not much time is left in your prelims examination. So we have to cover current affairs compilation. Okay, so you don't need to watch daily current affairs. We have compiled all current affairs subject wise and we are covering that in Phoenix batch. But for those of you who are targeting UPSC or any other civil services examination next year, well, this lecture series is extremely important for you. Okay, so with this out of the way, with this distinction, it is very important. Let's begin with today's lecture. Okay, so daily current affairs, 23rd of March, Monday. And here are the important topics that were in the news. Okay, number one is the science of induction cooktop. You all know that induction stoves are becoming really popular these days because of LPG shortage. So what is the science behind induction cooktop? Science related questions are asked in your UPSC examination. So we'll focus on science behind this. Okay. Then we all must have witnessed this, especially North Indians, that there is unusual weather in the month of March. March is not, habitual of these rainfall, storms, rainstorms in the month of March. We are not habitual. But this unusual weather pattern has certain geographical reasons behind it. We'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about the effects of Iran war. First of all, LPG shortage is just the first order effect. There are going to be second order, third order effects also of this war. Okay, it has some devastating consequences for the entire world. So what are those second order effects of Iran war? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about regulation of children's social media use. There has been so many proposals to regulate usage of social media by children. Now, what laws are in place for this? What rules are in place for this in India? And what are some of the global comparisons? What other countries are doing? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about China-sponsored agreement in WTO. Okay. So these are the 5 news items. We won't focus on this fifth news item that much. Okay. It will be covered once the WTO ministerial conference starts. Okay. It is going to start in Cameroon, 26th of March. So we'll get back to this topic then. But I just wanted to introduce this topic. Plus this topic is also mentioned in your notes. So go through this as well. Okay. So these are the 4 major news items. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is science of induction cooktop. Now, you must have heard about this, that the demand for these induction stoves has risen dramatically. Why? Because of LPG shortage. Yes, we all know about this. LPG cylinders, LPG gas is not that much available. I mean, there are shortages. And people are unable to catch up to the lifestyle. Or people are unable to maintain their lifestyle with this LPG shortage, right? That is why some of them have shifted to these induction stoves. Now, as far as the LPG shortage is concerned, you are already familiar with this, okay? But UPSC has a tendency of asking science-based questions as well. So what is the science behind LPG induction stoves? We'll talk about this. So we'll only focus on the science aspect. It is related to electromagnetism, by the way, okay? So let's talk about this. So science of induction cooktop. Now, an induction cooktop is a cooking appliance that uses electromagnetism to heat cookware directly rather than using a flame or heating element. So there is an electric stove in which a coil is there, you pass current through it, it heats up and then you warm whatever you want to heat. Okay, you cook whatever you want to cook. Then you have LPG flame, gas-based stoves, okay, where fire burns. But this is different. In this, you use magnetism to heat the material you have put on it. Okay, so if you have a container, this magnetic field will heat the container directly. Okay, this is really different. I'll explain this. Okay, so it represents a shift from traditional thermal conduction to electromagnetic induction. So what is the science behind this? Basically, first of all, in normal cooking mechanisms, you have a stove. Either you use gas to generate a flame, and that flame produces heat, which is transferred to your cooking container, and then stuff gets cooked. Okay, but in induction cook stove, well, you directly heat the container. You don't heat anything else. You use magnetic field to directly heat the container and then cook all of that. So all these steps are bypassed. Now, how does this work? First of all, induction stove works on 3 laws of physics, 3 basic principles of physics. Number 1, Faraday's law of induction. What is Faraday's law of induction? A changing magnetic field induces an electromotive force and consequently an electric current in a nearby conductor. So what happens is that if a magnetic field gets changed very quickly, well, it produces electric current. I'll explain how in the induction stove. But the thing is, electric current gets generated through a changing magnetic field, and that is what we use in these dams, hydroelectric dams as well. Okay. Then Joule's law of heating. When an electric current flows through a material with resistance, electric energy is converted into heat. So I square RT. I stands for current, R stands for resistance, and T stands for time. So heat is produced. So when you pass electric current through something that has resistance, heat is produced. And magnetic hysteresis. Because you are continuously changing magnetic field, the material gets magnetized, demagnetized. This also produces extra heat, which is called magnetic hysteresis. Now let me explain this. Okay, so this is how an induction stove works. So first of all, there is current. Let me change the color of this. So first of all, there is current. Now you all know that we use alternating current, AC current. Okay, in AC current, the current alternates. In your household, all the switches use AC current. This AC current passes through this coil. Now because it is alternating, well, because alternating current is produced, a magnetic field is produced that passes through this glass platform. Okay, and this magnetic field gets in touch with this iron container in which you have put stuff to cook. Now because it is iron, and iron is a good conductor of electricity, so this magnetic field, alternating magnetic field, remember Faraday's law, this alternating magnetic field produces eddy currents. Now these eddy currents in this container directly, because it has some resistance, these eddy currents produce heat energy, and this container becomes hot because current is passing through it. These eddy currents produce electricity using Joule's law of heating, and then stuff gets cooked. So nothing is getting heated. Okay, this is not getting heated, the coil, the glass is cold, only this container directly gets heated. Okay, and plus you do not require that much electricity for this as well. So this is how induction stove works. Now for your examination, you have to remember that induction stove works on these 3 principles. Faraday's law of induction, Joule's law of heating, that when current passes through anything, heat is produced, and magnetic hysteresis. Here, so this is the mechanism. Now, if we do a normal comparison of induction stove and LPG gas stove, well, it is more efficient than LPG. It has higher speed also. The stuff gets cooked very quickly as compared to a flame, a fire using LPG. It is more safe also. There is no problem of gas leakage or fire breaking out. That is the case with LPG cylinder. And it is resilient also because it is dependent on electricity grid. If your place has 24/7 electricity, this is a better option. But this is dependent on fuel supply chains. And currently, as you can see, fuel supply chains are not permanent. Because of Iran war, LPG supply chains have gotten disrupted. Yes, so this is the comparison. So what is the significance? First, let's talk about the benefits. So it creates energy security. High volatility in global oil and gas prices makes LPG expensive. Induction offers a pathway to reduce dependence on fossil fuel imports. Plus, if the electricity that is given to these stoves is generated from renewable energy, then we are not emitting carbon at all. Okay. Electric cooking, which can be powered by renewable energy sources aligning with India's net zero goals, then you are carbon neutral also, because the electricity is coming from renewable sources and no carbon dioxide is getting emitted in the entire process. So this is good. But the challenges are, first of all, grid reliability. What is grid reliability? Well, your place should have 24/7 electricity. That is number one. Then upfront cost is high, one-time cost is high. And durability, harder to repair, sensitive to voltage fluctuations. So it is difficult to repair this. So these are some of the challenges, these are benefits, and that's about it. All right. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is unusual weather in March. Now, as far as North India is concerned, March is not used to frequent rainfalls and dipping of temperature. March is that month when temperatures start to rise and, well, we ease into summers. This time around, well, the early March saw higher temperatures as compared to middle or late March because of extreme rainfall. Not extreme, but heavy rainfall. And because of this heavy rainfall, temperatures dropped. This is unusual for March. Okay. Now, what kind of geographical phenomena was responsible for this? You need to be aware of that because geography is part of your syllabus. Okay? All right then, pay close attention. So, unusual weather in March. March typically marks a stable transition from winter to summer in India. However, March 2026 exhibited extreme climatic whiplash, shifting from record-breaking heat waves in the first fortnight. First 14 days, record-breaking heat wave was there, to widespread thunderstorms, hailstorms, and intense precipitation, intense rainfall in the second half. So first half was dramatically different from second half. Now, why did these rainfall, thunderstorms, hailstorms occur? We need to know about this, okay? So this is the thing. You see, pay close attention on this image. In North India, there were these westerlies or western disturbances, we call them. These were cold winds that brought, these northwestern winds that brought moisture from Mediterranean areas, okay? But these are cold winds. In the southern part of India, okay, there were these southwesterlies. Now what happened was there were two fronts, northwest met with southwesterlies coming from south and Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. They also brought moisture. Plus, because in the first fortnight of March there was intense heat, so all these winds that carried moisture, they rose up. So from northwest India, well, there were these western disturbances. From southwest India, moisture from Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea was coming, because in North India there was high temperature. So when these winds reached North India, they rose up. When they rose up, the moisture got up and it got condensed, leading to rainfall. So it created cyclonic conditions, which is known as lower tropospheric cyclonic circulation. Okay, this is the simple reason. Now let's investigate further. Okay, regional impacts and local phenomena. So what was the impact of this? In the northwest and Himalayas, early heat waves in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir transitioned into heavy snowfall and hailstorms. In East India, intense storms locally known as Kal Baisakhi were triggered prematurely with higher intensity in West Bengal, Odisha and Jharkhand. Rainfall from Bay of Bengal, easterly winds, from northwest. Southern peninsular India, unusual hail was reported in North Karnataka, a region where large-scale hail is climatologically rare. This is a dry region. So this phenomena led to these unusual consequences. March is not habitual. Himalayas are not habitual to March snowfall. Similarly, Kal Baisakhi comes later, nor'westers come later. And this Raichur and Dharwad region is not habitual to hailstorms. This happened because of these reasons, okay? Now, what are the implications? Well, there are some negative consequences. First of all, wheat crop. While light rain can help the late sown wheat, hailstorms during the milking or maturation stage causes lodging and grain shattering, leading to significant wheat yield losses. Then, because high velocity winds are detrimental to mango blossoms and mustard crops. Again, horticultural losses. Then climate change. Many climate change scientists have said that with climate change, the weather would become unpredictable. And this is what we are seeing, increasing variability. Right? Frequency of lightning during these March storms has emerged as a major cause of accidental deaths also. Plus disaster management. We need to revisit disaster management, re-prepare, because we are not prepared for these things in March, but we need to prepare ourselves. And we need to focus more on nowcasting. Weather forecasting is for long-term predictions. Nowcasting is weather phenomena in the next 6 hours. Government should now focus or technologically equip themselves with nowcasting. Remember this term, nowcasting. Okay? All right. Now let's move on to next news item, which is second order effects of Iran war. Now look, there was this editorial in the Indian Express newspaper which said that there have been many crises before, okay, which led to problems in the global economy. First of all, COVID, that was a problem. Then the other crisis, just after COVID, there was Russia-Ukraine war, which led to supply disruptions because Russia and Ukraine export a lot of oil and gas, right? And now there is Iran war. Now, this editorial argues that Iran war is significantly different from the previous two crises and will have more negative consequences as compared to two others. Plus, you cannot manage these two, you cannot manage this crisis. COVID could have been managed. Russia-Ukraine could have been managed. But it is very difficult for anyone to manage Iran war economically. Okay? You can't do anything about it. Now, how is this crisis fundamentally different from other two crises? And what are going to be the impact, long-term consequences of this war? So we categorize these long-term consequences into orders. First order is direct consequence. Then second order is, because of this direct consequences, there is a chain reaction. I'll explain all of this. Okay. So let's talk about consequences of Iran war. So second order effects of Iran war. So nature of the crisis. So how Iran war is fundamentally different from COVID. So COVID was primarily a demand shock because economy stopped, everything stopped. So there was very little demand for anything. So it was a demand shock. So how to revive demand? Government started printing more money to revive demand. Russia-Ukraine war, primarily an energy price shock. Only because of Russia-Ukraine war, only energy prices suffered. Petrol, oil, diesel, all of this. Primarily an energy price shock, prices spiked, but supply mostly continued. But Iran war is different. It is a negative supply shock. It is a physical disruption where goods and energy simply cannot reach the destination due to closure of Strait of Hormuz. This shifts the aggregate supply curve to the left. Supply is not there for anything, not just energy, but all the other goods that pass through Strait of Hormuz. And you know Strait of Hormuz is closed by Iran. And this is a big crisis. Okay? Now, impact hierarchy. Now let's talk about first order, second order. So what is the first order crisis? Well, the direct crisis is LPG. Okay, this is the immediate impact. But LPG is not just required in your kitchen. LPG is required in various manufacturing, fertilizer manufacturing, petrochemical manufacturing, plastic manufacturing. Now, LPG is not going to reach over here. So many plastics, for example, milk pouches, buckets, pipes, those won't reach you again. So this is second order. You understand? First order is immediate impact of LPG. Then second order is LPG is used as a raw material in other things. Those other things also produce something. That supply would also get short. Okay? Milk pouches, buckets, pipes, and wherever there is plastic required, fertilizers required. Third order, global tech and AI. Foundries in Taiwan which manufacture semiconductor chips and South Korea depend on LNG and helium from West Asia. So now LNG won't reach these places. There would be chip shortage. If there is chip shortage, well, there is AI shortage. Plus financial problems because government cannot do anything. Increasing subsidy burden for fertilizers and a weakening rupee due to widening current account deficit. Because, well, supply is less. Prices have skyrocketed. This has increased India's import burden. If India's import bill increases, rupee weakens. subsidy on LPG and all of this increases. So it creates challenges for the government because government is losing money. You understand? So these are the impacts. Remember, first order, second order, third order, right? Now, sector specific vulnerabilities. Which sectors are specifically vulnerable to this? Hormuz closure, Morbi effect. Ceramics and sanitary ware industry in Morbi, Gujarat has faced shutdowns due to disruption of natural gas. The tiles industry, sanitary ware industry also require natural gas. They won't get it. Textile. Polyester and synthetic fiber prices are rising in tandem with crude oil, affecting India's textile exports. Okay, because petrochemicals are produced from these oil refineries only. Natural gas is a key input for urea production. A supply crunch forces government to choose between high import cost or lower agricultural productivity. Fertilizers would be short. Fertilizers would be in short supply, then food production would also suffer. This is the problem, right? What are the policy challenges? During COVID, government increased its fiscal deficit, increased its money to solve COVID. To solve Russia-Ukraine war, well, government increased its buying of energy from Russia, and many other things could have been done. But this is a problem because government cannot print more money because the problem is supply shortage. So increasing money supply won't solve the problem. Increasing fiscal supply would also not solve the problem. So government cannot do anything. There are only three things that the government can do. First of all, use diplomacy to solve this war. If India can stop this war using diplomatic means, India should do this. You look for alternative sources, like buy more from Russia or any other sources. Okay. And three, green transition. Transition towards green energy. There are various other ways also. These are the things that you can do. No monetary policy, no fiscal policy would help you out. Right? And now let's move on to last, and that is regulation of children's social media use. Last news item, okay? Because the WTO news item would be covered during ministerial conference, which would start on 26th of March. So we'll talk about this then. But still, I have given some information in your notes, so do read that out. Now, the fourth news item is regulation of social media for children. You see, social media or extreme usage of social media is considered problematic for your physical health as well as mental health. And extreme usage of social media for children is considered catastrophic. Okay? Because there are so many things that could go wrong if children or kids are addicted to social media. Therefore, governments all over the world, starting with Australia, China, and many others, they have started regulating social media usage for children. Now, what is the situation in India? Already there are various laws and IT rules in place that somehow regulate social media usage among children. But still, we need a comprehensive policy. So first, you need to be aware of what are the existing laws and rules in India that regulate social media usage and what is the way forward. Okay, so let's discuss this. So regulation of children's social media usage. So what is the current landscape? So there are various laws. First of all, there is Digital Personal Data Protection Act, IT Act, IT rules, POCSO, okay, prevention of child sexual offenses, okay. So we have three laws and various rules. Now, data privacy law does various things. IT rules have various provisions. For example, no movie or no content, for example, on YouTube, on Instagram, you have to do labeling, okay, that this is safe for children, this is not safe for children. YouTube also provides certain things, for example, YouTube for kids, where child specific content would be there. So there are various provisions for that. This is the current landscape. But the thing is, people are moving in this direction, like Australia. Australia has somehow banned social media usage after a particular time of the day for under 16-year-olds. So what should be our approach? We should follow a nuanced and graded approach. The union government is currently moving away from a total ban, like Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, towards a centralized age-graded restriction model. So what is the age-graded one? For 8 to 12 years, strict limitation like including curfews, no evening night logins allowed for children below 12 years. 12 to 16, moderate restrictions with enhanced parental supervision. And 16 to 18, very little restrictions. And above 18, no restrictions. So we should follow a graded model. Okay. But there are various challenges. The problem in regulating social media usage for children is as following. First of all, let me change the color. The age verification paradox. Well, how do you verify the user's age? Children can easily fool the mobile phone that they are above 18 years. So this needs to be strengthened. Then device sharing. In many households in India, a single phone is used by father, mother, and children also. How do you apply parental locks in such a situation? That is a problem. Then, if you make the rules extremely strict, then there are certain beneficial things about social media as well, educational things about social media as well. Children would be removed from that. Okay. And well, the thing is that social media algorithms are designed to not provide educational content but provide addictive content, and addiction for children would be really bad. The algorithms are designed to be addictive. We don't want addiction in children, but the algorithms are designed in that way. So how do you solve this problem? These are the few things that need to be solved before you can do anything, before you can regulate. Okay, this problem needs to be solved. Otherwise, no matter how many laws you enact, nothing would happen. Children would be exposed to bad parts of social media, right? So, and yeah, there are some global comparisons. For example, Australia came out with a law. Certain states of USA are doing certain things. So you can go through this as well. All right. And the last topic would have been investment facilitation for development, a China-sponsored agreement in WTO, which is gathering support, a lot of support. And India is now stuck. India doesn't want to join anything sponsored by China, in which China would be in an advantageous position. But it is getting heavily outnumbered. So what should be done? We'll discuss this again when this WTO ministerial conference would start. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. Just stay consistent and regular. And do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. Do not forget to do that. And on that note, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.